Hello there, this is Will from Stacks for Stacks, and today I'm putting together a short video all about the new ButtonMaker Stack that I'm releasing. This is the website for ButtonMaker. It is stacksforstacks.com/ButtonMaker, and we've uploaded some information about the new stack. There's some examples you can take a look at, and there's quite a lot of information about the setup of the stack and the usage of this stack. So what I've done is I've put together a quick project file in RapidWeaver. We've basically got a blog page and an about page. Blog page is done using the RapidWeaver blog page style, and the about page is just a regular stacks page. So I'm going to go ahead and add a ButtonMaker stack to this page. So this is what it would look like just with the default settings applied. Like other stacks, all the settings can be adjusted over here on the right hand side. So we've got various options to set a link, so I'll go ahead and do this now. So we'll work on the assumption I wanted to build a button that linked to my Twitter account. So I'm just going to add twitter.com/Will Woodgate, which is my handle. And then we can actually change the button label. So I'm going to say Twitter. And just for example, we'll change the border radius to give us some rounded corners on our button. And again, if I go back and preview the page, got ourselves the start of a nice button. I'll go ahead and change this icon now. The icon is displayed on the left hand side of the button. It can be turned on and off here in the settings, so that would turn the icon off, but for this example we'll turn it back on again. And again, I'm just going to change that to Twitter, like so. And we'll go back and preview this button. So that is our new button. We've got the Twitter icon here on the left, and it says Twitter here in the middle. Now by default, all ButtonMaker stacks, they span the full 100% width of the area you put them within. So in this case, I've got the button just inside a normal container, and therefore it expands to the full width of that container. Certainly if you were to put this button stack into a column stack, then you could reduce the size. And also you've got the option of the layout settings here in stacks, so I could apply a fixed size if I wanted of say 250 pixels, so we can go and see what that looks like, and you can see that sort of constrains the width of the button some more. But for this example we'll just keep it at its default, which is fill. So that is basically the basics of how this stack works. As you can see in edit mode, we've got loads of different options available to customize the button appearance. At the moment I've just got it set to a solid color fill, but you can change it to a gradient or even an image fill if you wanted. We've got the option here of putting a border around the button, which might look nice in some instances, and like I said, we can change the button icon as well. The animation is just achieved using basic CSS. So in this example we've set it to 300 milliseconds. The button height by default will be 50 pixels. Generally I find when I'm building websites which might need iPhones or iPads or sort of Android tablets to access, I tend to find this 50 pixels is a nice size. It creates what I call a nice sort of fat button which users can easily tap with their finger and access the content the other side. But you could quite easily go ahead and change the height of this button, so I'll just say 20 pixels. Go and see what that looks like. There you go, you see. And again, you probably want to reduce the icon size or the label font size down a bit if you were to make the button a bit smaller. But all these settings are available for you to come in and play around with. Now, as I've just mentioned, the buttons which we generate here are just pure HTML and CSS. There's nothing too advanced or complicated here. I've done this for a number of reasons. Firstly, I like to have buttons on websites which load really quickly. Things like JavaScript can get a bit in the way sometimes. They can add a bit of bloat to pages, and obviously if you have more and more buttons added, you've got a lot more source code in the page, and generally things can slow down quite significantly. So for the sake of this stack, I've just kept to CSS and HTML to do all the basics. There is no other source code like jQuery, MooTools, anything like that. There's nothing else like that. And this brings us on to one of the more significant features, I suppose you could say, of this stack, and that is the ability to view the source code and actually copy that source code into non-stack pages. So what this means is that you can actually do like we've just done now and build your stack, build your button, in the Stacks plugin, but you can actually reuse this button then in other page types like our blog. And the system we've got in place is actually remarkably easy, and I don't think it's been done in any other stacks before. What we've got in the button settings is an option here that says view source code, and if I just tick that, we get a little instruction that says your generated CSS and HTML code will be displayed in RapidWeaver preview mode. So now if I was to switch into preview mode, we've still got our button displayed here, but we've got some instructions now and we've got some code. The code is identical to what is styling the button up here. So it's basically this code you're seeing on the screen now is a duplicate of what is displaying this button. So this provides a sort of convenient way of copying the code for the button into other page types. And that's what I'll give you an example of doing now. So if I just switch quickly over to our blog page, we could work on the presumption that I wanted to put some social media buttons here on the sidebar of the blog. So perhaps I wanted to link to my Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus or something like that. And with the new ButtonMaker Stack, we are able to build buttons which would allow us to do that. Now traditionally, getting stacks into page styles like the RapidWeaver blog page styles we've got here has been quite difficult. Normally my first choice would be to use the PlusKit plugin, but the trouble with that, it doesn't work particularly well with the blog. My other option, of course, would be to use something like the Global Content plugin for RapidWeaver and stacks. Now I've had quite good experience with this in the past. However, what I've tended to find is that I've had to go ahead and change all my page extensions to .php, and that in itself can be quite a lot of work. And obviously you're then having to sort of mess around with complicated code in the sidebar, and it can become a bit of a tedious process. But with ButtonMaker, because we've generated some basic CSS and HTML code, this easily works in any other RapidWeaver page style. In fact, you could use it on another publishing platform altogether, like WordPress or Concrete 5 if you wanted to try it. So we'll start with the CSS code. I'm just copying that to my clipboard. I'll click onto the blog page here, and then I'm opening the RapidWeaver page inspector. I'm clicking on the header tab, and we've got the CSS box at the bottom here, and I'll just paste that code in like so. There's no button displayed yet, so we'll go and fetch that code. Copy that to the clipboard, and I'm going to put this in my sidebar. I've already got some code here which is for the freestyle banner container in this particular theme. This is the code for pulling in this rather pretty banner image at the top here, so I'm just going to paste in my code below here. And as you can see, we've got the basics of the button working here now, but you'll notice straight away we've got this rather large gap at the top, and the button is rather spaced out. This is easily fixed simply by highlighting all the HTML code and going to Format, Ignore Formatting in the menu like so. This will highlight the code pink in RapidWeaver Preview, but that's completely normal. I mean in RapidWeaver Edit mode, and you can see now our button is working correctly. And if I was to click on our button, it takes me straight through to my Twitter page, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So this is quite a powerful function of this new stack, this ability to copy the code into other page styles. Certainly you could reuse this same concept and follow the same method if you wanted to put buttons in another page style like a RapidWeaver contact form, or perhaps a Weaver Picks page or blocks page or something like that. It would work the same regardless of what the page type you're using. This button now is completely independent of the stacks page. It's got its own HTML and it's got its own CSS code as well. I think that's probably just about all there is to explain really about this stack. Definitely I would suggest you come to the website, download the free demo version and have a play around with it. There are a lot of settings that you can adjust to build some really impressive button designs. We have got quite a few designs listed here on the website already. This is by no means a limitation of what you can do. There's a lot more button designs you could create, and certainly there's scope to merge some of these different designs together. So for example, you could have an image button but apply rounded corners or a border to it or something. So there's lots of ability to create some really attractive button designs for your website. Buttons, of course, can be set to link through to other pages of your website, or you can link to other websites altogether. And I've also put on the website here some examples of code you could use and some links if you wanted to have buttons do particular tasks relating to social networking or bookmarking services. This video was just a very short introduction to the new ButtonMaker Stack. There is a free demo version available on the website, so do feel free to download that and have a play around with this new stack. The only limitation with the demo version is that it puts a watermark at the bottom of your created buttons, but other than that you can experiment with all the available settings and functionality. And again, if you've got any questions, then feel free to contact me through the website.